This show is brought to you by Databril, the scalable Amazon PPC management for large Amazon sellers and brands. Visit sellersessions.com/agency for more details. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions again. We bring back Anthony Lee. Hello Anthony, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excellent. Couple of subjects we're going to kind of cover today. We're going to be talking about ranking for a change and some of the experiments you've been doing. And what was the other thing we're going to chat about is your review bias thing we were discussing.
Well, we were talking about URLs, but I'd be more than happy to discuss my thoughts on reviews in that latest article too, if you want.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. I know that, like you said, it was it's more of a personalised thing, but it's just your take on how everyone has been reacting to the skies are falling with the reviews thing on Amazon, because it's hit the mainstream quite heavily, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. It's a hot topic for consumers, so the media is milking it for everything it's worth.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. Well, let's start with some of your tests you've been doing in terms of ranking. You've discovered a few new areas, shall we say? Do you want to elaborate for the audience?
Sure. So we're constantly running different types of promotions to see how the algorithm is shifting and evolving. And some recent tests have shown us, not just personal tests, but we also have access, obviously, to a huge client base of data that we can look and kind of verify some of the findings. The recent tests have shown us, though, once upon a time, when the concept of blasting deep discount promotions first emerged, you took a lump amount of units and released them as quickly as possible. And the quicker they got released, the quicker they got bought, the faster and the higher you would rank. And then over time, the algorithm would shift and evolve. And we found that developing more of a history in order to affect the moving averages was more effective. So single day blasts all at once was no longer as effective. For a while, people were noticing that Amazon's algorithm seemed to care more about, well, how does your 7-day averages look? How does your monthly averages look, et cetera, et cetera. So promotions started getting more spread out. And then there was a period of time where there's a lot of speculation. I don't think that we have a whole lot of concrete data to back it up, but a lot of speculation that, the more natural the sales look, the better. So then you had a bunch of concepts or services coming out saying, do like this many units this day and then that many the next day, et cetera. But either way, all of this fed into this idea that promotions should be spread out. And so we went back to testing and have noticed that for whatever reason, in the evolution of the algorithm, we're seeing a greater impact from sales velocity again, from getting rid of the units as quickly as possible and in larger quantities again, which is interesting because it hadn't been that way for like 2 years. Now, that isn't to say that history and those averages don't play a part. They really do, particularly over longer periods or over older listings. We've done similar tests with listings that are over a year old that have a lot of zero sales history days in their history. And the more zero sales history a product has over the course of a year, the harder it is to rank it, regardless of whether or not you do a big blast or many big blasts in a row over this many days. It can be almost near impossible to rank those. But specifically for brand new listings, velocity is it's like a surefire way to rank. If your listing's not brand new, velocity still holds a lot of weight, but your sales history is going to play a little bit more of a role. As far as where that benchmark is exactly, we have to do longer testing, obviously, to get an exact number. For a long time, it was 6 months. Now there's speculation that it might have been shortened to 3. But you definitely have at least a good 90-day window to hit velocity and rank really well really easily before you have to start worrying about those moving averages and the effect that'll have on your ranking.
Cool. So instead of, because a lot of people have been talking about, I found it a little bit in Europe, it seemed to be a bit more spread out in terms of how long it was taking the products to rank in, like, say, Germany and Italy from different tests that I'd done. But a lot of people complained in the US. I know that a seller that I know spent 45 grand on 3 launches just recently. So, and they tried all different methods, but that was based in the US. But I think, yeah, it does kind of make sense, is that what you're saying here is that you, instead of, say, the stretching them out over a longer period, is that you're front loaded, aren't you? So you're going to do them in batches. So instead of saying that you want to give away 20 units a day, you may give away 100 units if you can on day one, and then maybe doing step down and variant. Or is it just like, instead of trying to get rid of 300 units over 30 days, you're just doing 300 units over 6 to 7 days?
So basically, if we were to compile this data into advice, this is how it appears to work, right?
Yeah.
Amazon cares about the hourly sales, right? Amazon also cares about your weekly sales, the average of the past 7 days, but it doesn't appear that they care as much about that as those hourly sales. They also care about the monthly sales. But again, monthly sales may not be as important to them as those hourly sales.
Yes.
Now, at some point, you get over a period of time where all of the sales matter, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months, a lot, maybe as much as the hourly, right? But until you get to that threshold, if you have a newer product, basically what this data is telling us is it makes more sense for you to take as many of the units as you can and release them all at once and spike that velocity, because it will rank you faster than spreading it out. And then you're competing with everybody else on page one and their hourly sales, their averages of weekly sales and their monthly sales, and stacked up against them with no sales history, you're not going to look as good, right? So essentially, if you spread it out and it's a newer listing, competition's going to look better to Amazon than you, and that'll hinder your ability to make it to the top. But if you just take advantage of that honeymoon period plus the sales velocity advantage that you're going to have in the beginning, you'll get a lot higher. You could get above the full. You can get in the top 3 and probably stay there for a while. And then ideally the organic sales will catch up, and then you'll be there forever, ideally.
Exactly. I mean, what is your take on that? Because everyone tries to break it out is like some sort of mathematical science, and maybe that's true. Maybe I'm missing the point here, but I always find that I would need to. It's never a direct hit. I never say, right, I'm going to give away exactly this amount of units over exactly this amount of days, and then it just sticks. The way I operate is I do top ups. So I would do top-ups in between, like I'll look at my organic sales, I'll close the loop, work out from the coupon codes through the software, etc. And then a few days in, I might give X amount of units away just to keep that momentum going, just to allow for organic sales to start to balance out and get a steady flow come through. What's your take on that?
That is 100% the right way to do it. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, zero sales history can be the death of your listing, right? And it won't matter as much if you have 0 sales for a day or 2 days or 4 days, especially right after a blast. But if that keeps happening and then you have weeks and weeks with 0 sales before, you blast it again or whatever, those averages after a certain period of time will drag your listing down and you'll never see the light of page one again. So filling in the gaps and helping boost along those organic sales with some promotion sales as needed is definitely a strategy that top sellers, not only yourself, but other top sellers I know, that's definitely a strategy that they employ.
Yeah. What about stepping down the coupon codes, for instance? So you say we mainly do 90% off, because I find that I do direct, say with Facebook ads, for instance, and I do see a lot of people that actually come to me and go, this whole protocol doesn't work. But then you find out they're doing 40s and 50s and 60% off, which Facebook users are just not interested because ultimately it's not a platform where you should be targeting for direct sales like on Amazon. They're not putting keywords in your ads are showing. It's contextual advertising. You're actually disrupting them. It's a billboard, and you have to kind of relay that message to people with the discount codes. Like for me, the way I see it, the higher the discount code, the worse you can be at Facebook ads. Literally, as long as you get the discount code half right, in terms of size. If you're really good at Facebook ads, then maybe you can start to play around with different levels. But have you ever done a step down where you might do 90%, 80%, 70%, 60% and gone down that way? Is that been an effective method at all?
In blasting, well, see, the reason why that kind of method might work better, I was just about to say that that kind of thing's actually good to test in Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And the reason why it might work better in Facebook ads is because essentially that's a split test.
Yes.
So what happens is you'll look at your uptake, because you're right, the higher the discount, the better it'll do. But it also depends on your product. You might have a product that, unbeknownst to you, people are willing to actually pay 25 or 30% for. So you might actually be able to get away with 70%, but you won't know that unless you test and you look at your conversions. Yeah. But as far as blasting is concerned, that having any impact on ranking, we don't have any concrete data to show that it does. Yeah. I do know, however, that lots of people test doing lower discounts to the blast lists, and the reason why is because they're trying to lose as little money as possible.
Yeah, of course. And then cost them more in opportunity lost in terms of ranking, and cost them more generally in Facebook ads because they're getting less take up, so their click through rates.
For Facebook ads, yeah, but when you use a blast service that has a big enough list, you can actually get away with it. Yeah. Not every day. Like, I know plenty of people that try to do like 50% off for 7 days in a row. Day one actually works pretty good. Day two sometimes too. But 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, it's like people, the same people have seen it, and they're not going to react to it the same way. But for every now and again, like me personally, when I run blasts, and this is one of the advantages that a blast service has over running Facebook ads for this type of thing, is I try to break even. I try not to lose money at all. Yeah. So I go in and say, okay, well, I'm going to blast 100 units. I'm going to make 200 available, and then I'm only going to do 65% off.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. And typically, that works for me. I don't think there's certain products though that like, don't try that with Garcinia and Cambogia. Cause I mean, people are just over that, right? They get hit with that enough. But if you have a product that can withstand that kind of thing, that's one of the advantages. I can still manage a successful blast.
You brought up an interesting point there, because obviously there's, it's like PPC. It's not a magic box that just works for any product. And you can't just, break science by going, okay, I want to make a profitable PPC campaign. Buy this product that sells for $12.99, yet it's $5 per click. The math just doesn't work. Even like with us with Databril, we're never going to turn water to wine like that. It just doesn't fit. What is your take on the situation where you're in a market and there's, people in this kind of, let's call them the Me Too market, where everyone is blasting? How are you seeing that tip out? Because obviously the balance of advantages would normally come is if you are blasting and everyone else is running PPC or just organic. But then if you get to page one and everyone's given up on PPC because it's too expensive and they're all blasting, what kind of impact have you seen there?
Like on the surface, logically, you would look at that and think, okay, well, that's obviously going to cause a problem. Yet there are some Me Too markets, particularly in consumables, where I see we have a lot of clients in the same space, and somehow they're all killing it at the same time. I have no idea how. But I think, in my professional opinion, I think the deciding factor in that is the branding.
Yeah.
So I think that when everybody's in a market that's super competitive, it's really easy to lose a lot of money and then get swept up in the undertow and just, I mean, you just
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go into the space automatically knowing, well, this is going to cost me some money. I've got to do this.
Yeah.
But the guys that I see winning have just stellar. They spend the extra time on the branding.
Yeah.
So even though they have a product that doesn't do anything different than a lot of the other stuff, I don't know how they do it. Probably using like PickFu or actually doing market research with customers. But they have the right imagery, they have the right labeling, they have the right something about it that just looks appealing. And yeah, and those guys can blast the same way everybody else does, but they actually stick. They actually get the organic sales, and that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Two people can blast the same amount of units, get right next to each other in ranking. One of them gets the organic sales, the other one, where'd they go?
Yeah, because I think again, it's that misconception as well, is that you can do Facebook ads or any of these things. There's one method, like mechanism here, is that you can do everything right and you could rank, but nothing is guaranteed to stick. That is down to your product and your positioning. If you've got a shitty product or crazy pricing and things like that, or crappy images, it just 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to stick, is it?
Or even a mediocre product, something that doesn't stand out. Like if you have a product that's good, but it's just as good as that guy, and that guy.
Yeah.
Everybody's losing to the big brands at that point. Basically, at that point, you're going to be wiped out by somebody that everybody recognizes from name recognition. Period. Like it's just going to happen.
Cool. Right. So the skies are not falling, guys. It still does work. Let's talk about URLs now. Now, obviously, we talked a lot in the past about storefronts. Most people know what they're for, how they work, etc. Now, you've got these branded URLs. Have you had any experience with the branded URLs?
Yeah, we've tested a little bit. So basically, the branded URL works like any filter option, and the filters on the left-hand side of the screen, right? You can filter down, and it makes the URL longer, but essentially it accesses the same data. So it's like Amazon's algorithm doesn't appear to reduce the effectiveness of the rank juice just because you happen to have a whole bunch of filters, right? Mm-hmm. So the branded URLs do work. It's just easier to generate a storefront URL. Yeah. That's the reason why we do it, because the branded URL, you can run into some issues. Like, for example, if your brand isn't located over there,
Yeah. So just to break down the URL, so it's brand, category, hidden keywords. Is the brand?
Okay, so this is a new URL. That's the branded URL existed before this hidden keyword thing.
Yeah.
That is a new, maybe it's not new. It's new to me. Yeah. I just recently learned about it. I don't actually know what the hidden keyword is used for, so I can't comment on it yet. I would love to test it, but to me, it doesn't matter just to test it. Like for me, I also need to know, like, why does Amazon have that? Like, what does Amazon use a hidden keyword for? Like, what in their system needs a keyword that's quote unquote hidden? Because we might find out, like, people could be using branded URLs with hidden keywords thinking, oh, this is the new hit thing. Like, cause I mean, that's how our industry is, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's new. It must be awesome. And nobody else is using it. It's going to work for at least the next, 6 months, and everybody's going to be millionaires with it. But then find out that the hidden keyword is like totally unrelated to ranking. It might not even be a keyword that's involved in ranking. Like, it could totally be something that has to do with like one of the, obscure miscellaneous extra data in the back of your listing, right? Yeah. And what people are actually ranking on is the branded URL, and the hidden keyword has nothing to do with it. So I would really need to know what that's for first before I can come.
Well, I'll tell you what then. Why don't we cover this part again in the future? What we can do, I'll leave this segment in the show, but what we'll do is we'll run some tests, and in a couple of months' time we can report back to the listeners. So moving on from there, let's talk reviews. That's everyone's second favorite, or maybe everyone's favorite subject behind ranking. Let's talk about your post about reviews. Explain yourself, Anthony.
Well, I mean, that was more for consumers, really. Like sellers, we already know our position on reviews, no matter what it is, no matter what our opinion of how people get them. All of us who sell physical products under our own brands want reviews. So we
Mm.
know it's important to our business. We know it's important to ranking and kind of getting the machine moving. It's important to sales and conversions and everything. But mainstream media has caught on to, yeah, something that interests a mass amount of people. So they're squeezing this clickbait for every dollar that they can get out of it. And essentially, they're just creating a lot of hype around review scandals. And this is being helped along by companies like ReviewMeta, who has a Chrome extension that they want everybody to download, right? Because that's
Yeah.
data. They'll find a way to monetize it at some point.
Yeah.
So these guys are kind of conspiring to create this big issue. And I'm not saying that it's not a big issue. There's plenty of sellers out there that can attest to the fact that black hatters and people who really do cheat the system have really put them in a bad spot. But the problem is they're creating a much bigger issue out of it, and they're lumping everybody that breaks Amazon's terms of service in together. And that, to me, that's like, you got a jail cell, you got a murderer in there, and then you got a guy that went 5 miles over the speed limit in there too. Like that's basically what these journalists are doing.
Yeah.
And I just got fed up with that. So I wrote this kind of response from an honest seller and some of the issues that we have. I mean, a lot of us aren't trying to cheat anybody. We just want reviews. Like we just want reviews. And Amazon does not make it easy to get them.
Yeah, totally. And so give me some of the content. How have you broken that out?
What the content of the article?
Yes.
Well, it was mainly focused. First, it was talking about kind of the changes that Amazon has made, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was, the big scandal broke out with, data scientists have looked at this information and found out that the entire system, Amazon's review community, is just totally skewed.
Yeah.
And that put a lot of pressure on Amazon, and they were like, okay, you know what? We're gonna mix things up, and maybe we'll just like separate verified and unverified reviews, and that way people can see that even though these sellers and these listings are doing the whole promo thing, because that's normal, everybody does that. The verified reviews are people like normal buyers, and then we'll weight the star rating skewed towards the verified. Well, that wasn't enough. Media kept feeding the machine, and so Amazon turned around and said, okay, well, so we'll go ahead and start wiping out reviewers. We'll get rid of these professional reviews from our platform. Maybe we'll start, making it a little bit harder to leave reviews. Next thing you know, you got to spend at least $50 on the platform. That's cool too, right? You got to spend at least $50 on the platform to leave a review. That way, people creating fake accounts can't game the system so much. That makes sense, right? And then, of course, they started limiting who could leave unverified reviews. Okay, now you can only leave 5 unverified reviews a week. Okay, that's cool. You're getting rid of all these professional reviewers that are out there, and they never spend money on the platform unless they get a coupon code or something. That makes sense. But it kept getting worse. And next thing you know, they're not allowing reviews to be left for deep discount at all, and then they're letting buyers opt out.
Well, let me just step in there. Like that's actually in some cases an advantage. Let's say you got some problem with some stock and you do a deep discount. You don't want to get destroyed from after your big campaign to then get someone leave a 1 star because you wasn't aware that one or two units or so may be just damaged or whatever, and that just literally kills everything. So the fact that they can't leave a review, in some cases, that is quite positive.
I can see that being an advantage in like 0.0001% of situations.
I know.
Like that's not the vast majority of us sellers, man. We struggle, and the idea that we can't run a promotion, the idea that we can't give somebody any kind of discount in exchange for a review anymore, that's incentivization is like totally against the law, the Amazon law. It's preposterous. It's like, come on, how's anybody going to know about my brand? They've never heard of me before. Yeah. So now I got to be all sneaky about it, and then I do these discounts, and now they're not allowed either. And it's like, at every step of the way, it's hindering smaller sellers. But you
Yeah.
know who's not hindered? Big brands who
Yeah.
have huge marketing machines. And I guarantee you part of those machines is some type of incentivization to leave product feedback
Yeah.
that is completely off of Amazon's radar, and Amazon wouldn't care even if it was, because the system is set up to make, their life as easy as possible on the platform. And so that was kind of the basis of the content, was just me ranting about that. It's like, I don't feel like our current review situation and the way that they're regulating the review community is fair to smaller sellers. I think they have made broad sweeping changes, and they should have focused more on getting rid of bad actors and making it easier for reviewers and sellers alike to put out honest content about the products that they're selling.
Makes total sense. And do you know what the beautiful thing is? For just you, 30 reviews for $1,000, you can use the Vine program. You can buy yourself 30 reviews for $1,000, can't you?
Are they letting everybody? They letting everybody do that?
No, you got to fight your way in there. But at some point, it's going to become available, isn't it? They're open.
I hope it. And that was part of the appeal of the article too. I kind of put a little section in there like, hey, this is a message to Amazon. Vine, I 1,000's good. 2,500 was prohibitively expensive. I think 1,000 might still be on the high end, but the early review program is a joke. It's just a half measure, a quarter measure. But they need to start instituting some form of, because otherwise Amazon buyers don't have any reason whatsoever to leave a positive review. Let me.
I don't know exact numbers, but let's just say 30 reviews, $1,000. What we're looking at, about $33 a review. Is that right? My math's right. So $33 per review. Now, if you think about all these people that are doing all the cloak and dagger stuff, that are doing all like the PayPal refunds, etc., and the damage it can do to your account, or you can pay Amazon an extra $33 on top of all your PPC budget, making them super rich, and their platform fees and their audience, and they own the customer and everything else. That is a sweet deal for Amazon. But also, then you can look at the flip side of it. Is like you can spend a couple of grand getting your account unsuspended because you went down the wrong channels, or you can spend $1,000 on reviews. Now, I know that Liran run them, and the poor sod, basically the first review he got a 1 star, and he was pulling out whatever hair he had left, but it turned a corner because the product was good. Like you always get his narky customers, and it turned round, and I think he hit 20, 30 or just below the 30 review, and he ranked really well. And because the thing is, the Vine program is very powerful in the sense that people do trust those reviews. They're like war and peace posts in most cases, and it looks authentic because someone's just bashed the shit out of your product on one side and give you 1, 2, and 3 stars, but then on the other side you get your 4s and 5s. So then that retains the credibility. It's unlike when you see these reviews, 349 5-star reviews,
5-star,
and then 1 3-star, just because you need to have like the good, bad, the ugly actor in the the poor review. And then you go and click through to those profiles, and you see that it's a brand new account with just 1 review of that brand in it. But they just survive on Amazon. It's crazy.
But like I said, those guys are actually cheating the system. Like, I'm not advocating that they should be allowed to do that at all. I just wish that they're, like, if this Vine if it's going to cost $1,000 to get 30 reviews, then it's going to cost $1,000. But by God, just let everybody have access to it.
Yeah.
Like right now, 95% of sellers have no clue how to get involved in the Vine program and don't have an easy doorway into it. Yeah. And they're sitting there going like, oh my God, I need reviews, and I have a follow-up sequence in place, and it's not doing anything. Nobody's responding. I'm getting 5 reviews over the course of 6 months. Like, that's, and that's going to heavily impact. I mean, that's not enough momentum to keep up with the numbers you need to keep up with to stimulate the algorithm and actually get things moving.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a good way for a brand new product to die quick. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thoughts
But
on it.
I definitely think with the review thing, because there's two sides. There's acquiring the positives and dealing with the negatives, you know. And in some cases, like you get to the stage where you go, please, just I don't need any more reviews. We're fine. We're good. Just go away. Just don't leave a review, because it's like you're watching the pendulum swing, isn't it? You know, because in case. So the key things I've learned over the years about reviews is that people need to fully understand your product, you know, and get it. If you've oversold on your listing, that's where you'll lead to negative reviews.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a shitty product and just don't admit to yourself, and you're blindsiding yourself to it, you're going to get negative reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But I find if you can really get the quality, which isn't always easy from like places from like China, unless you've got boots on the ground to ensure that, and you haven't got consistent issues with products, then I think 9 times out of 10, it all comes back down to the product. But that doesn't help you with the out the gate stuff, and it doesn't help you being nobbled by your competition. I want to do a show on this, but you know, some of the crazy shit that's happening at the moment where people's whole listings are being taken over, like whole listings, and then they're changing the images on here. It's like F you and die and God knows what, you know, like it's crazy stuff like where they're literally hijacking the listings and they're replacing the images like with phantom faces and God knows what. Have you heard about that?
Just recently I heard of a couple of instances. I hope that they are a very, very small minority.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that happen too much.
Yeah. So that is a bit scary. I mean, I think what's been happening as well, I think people have been doing that through the vendor program somehow. From my understanding, you know, like this is an observation from what I'm reading. And one of the things was that what I read is that someone was uploading spreadsheets with lots of ASINs in and causing all these kind of problems. Like
flat files have always been. It's so weird too, right? 4 years in the game. That's how long I've been selling. And for some reason, Amazon still hasn't managed to clamp down on the security issues they have with flat files. But flat files has always been a huge kind of security backdoor. It's always got flaws.
Yeah.
Flat files can mess things up. Now, I mean, it's relatively secure in that the only thing it messes up is your listing, but still, like, it can really mess up a listing, which sucks. And it's like, why? How does that happen? Like, you know, but I don't know. You're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Cool. Right. What I'm going to do is I'll put them 2 articles in the show notes so people can read them with regards to the reviews and rankings. So let's wrap that here. What's the best way people can contact you?
Well, I'm available at anthony@sixleaf.com, or hit me on Facebook. I'm always there. I'm there too much, actually. You can actually search for unofficial Anthony Lee. You'll see my page. Do me a favor and join that little messenger bot. I do not spam. I promise. It's good information I put through there, and then, you know, we can keep in touch that way too.
And tell them about the books. I love you always tell them about the books. Go on. Tell them
All
the
right,
spelling.
so
yeah, I love
the books. We got the books. I written a couple of books on the subject of selling on Amazon. The master of marketing, as I like to call you. However, let's talk about Read Write Publishing. Right, readandwritepublishing.com. So you can you know, if you were to email me there, it's Anthony at Read and Write Publishing. But Read and Write is spelled like names, REID and WRIGHT. Publishing. So yeah,
that tickles me.
You won't ever remember it. So like, you'll remember it, but you won't remember it. You won't get it right. You'll put it in there and be like, screw it. I'm not going to email anybody. That was the worst idea ever. I'm glad that you're tickled by it.
Yeah. I mean, every time you come on the show, I have to bring it up because I think it's brilliant. No, I've done that with email addresses before with like .co, and then you'll end up speaking to customers. It's like they stick an M on the end, or it's a .uk. And it's like, well, I didn't get all this. It just didn't arrive. So the .co email addresses can be a real battle as well. because people
Yes.
want to finish the suffix at the end of it. So don't worry, I've felt your pain. But guys, thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's show and you found it very insightful. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. But we'll see you again soon. Take care.